Let's get more, shall we, on the sad news that John Motson has passed away at the age of 77. We can speak to Sky Sports football commentator Martin Tyler right now. Martin, thank you so much for joining us on what must be a hugely emotional day for you today to hear that news. What are your thoughts at this moment?
Well, I was very shocked to hear the news, Rob, to be honest with you. I didn't know that John had been ill. I'm finding out now that he had been ill a little bit over the past year or so. I hadn't seen him so much since he disappeared from the gantry, but I saw, 45 years of him on the gantry. And he was, well, first of all, he was somebody I admired in terms of the profession enormously. His preparation was second to none. His attention to detail, his wish to know everything possible about the game that he was about to broadcast, and he was a real example to me for that. He actually, before my very first television game back in 1974, he sent me a telegram. Yes, a telegram. I'm sure many of the listeners won't even know what that is. But it said, "Talk little, but say a lot." And I think that summed up John, really. He was economical with his words, but he punched them out, and when he spoke, it had great resonance. A wonderful career, a funny guy away from the microphone, probably a bit quirky as a person, but he had a great sense of humour, and he helped a lot of people as well. He certainly encouraged me at the beginning. And we virtually went around the world together. First of all, when I was working for ITV, and he was with the Beeb, and then as I moved to Sky, the same thing applied, really. So, a friend, but a rival, I suppose, in a way as well, but full of admiration for him. And as I say, very sad. My deepest sympathies to Annie and Freddie and the rest of the family at such a sudden loss.
Yeah. You mentioned working with him. There was you and Brian Moore, wasn't there, at ITV, John Motson. Really the voice of the BBC, wasn't it? That longevity that you spoke about there, what made him so good for so long?
I think his love of football, love of football people. He wasn't a great player. We played in the commentators team for, best part of 15 years together, really. We went on a few tours, but he was an enthusiastic player. He was a reasonable athlete. He did a lot of half marathons and things like that, so he was fit. But what I think also helped him, although he might not have thought of it at the time, was the rivalry with Barry Davies. I think the BBC did very well to sort of push the two of them, each encouraging each other a bit like Ronaldo and Messi, really, to try and strive to those high levels. And the Beeb were blessed to have that, have two such great voices. And he set standards that so many of us have tried to follow, and I'm obviously not of a dissimilar age, I can look back on it, and it is very sad to somebody who's been at the real top of a profession that I've strived to be part of, that we've lost today, and on the back of losing Dickie Davis recently as well. Broadcasting's taken a double hit, really, in the last few days.
You mentioned his preparation for games. You love your preparation for games as well. I know that very much. But Motti loved a stat, didn't he?
Yeah, I've always felt that that's part of the game, really. And John probably set the standards for that. He was probably the first commentator, really, in the television world to look at that kind of detail. And of course, in the early days, there was no internet. There was no way of really checking up things without doing it yourself. So you'd be looking through back copies of the football yearbooks and checking every conceivable source, talking to the clubs themselves, and it's how to apply them. I think and John was very good at that. A stat for stat's sake is probably not a good thing. A stat that's relevant to what's happening on the field is the key, and I think John was he was a master of that.
Yeah, If we close our eyes, we're immediately transported, aren't we, back to Edgar Street, February 1972, and Ronnie Radford and all that, and Motti stood out on the pitch there. That was his first big break, wasn't it?
I think so. Any commentator will tell you, Rob, that you've got to be there for the moments. I had to wait a long time for Sergio Aguero to give me a little bit of the limelight in 2012, but John was well ahead of that. And that was a special day, and a wonderful goal. And, of course, we've lost Ronnie as well recently too. So time marches on, and I think the legacy that John has left, the sound bites, the voice associated with so many great occasions, so many great goals. I love the Culture Club, the reference at the end when Wimbledon won the Crazy Gang had beaten the Culture Club. You know that when Wimbledon beat Liverpool in the 1988 FA Cup final, and I'm sure we could all think of many more. So it was a great career and a very good life, and I'm really sorry it's come to an end today.
Yeah, and sheepskin coats as well.
Yes. I think that was to do with a game which was called off, where he was doing a live piece into grandstand, probably, with snow on the pitch and the sheepskin coat very much to the fore. And as far as I know, he was quite happy to have that image. I don't know whether he got a regular supply of sheepskin coats from the manufacturers after that, but it was. It is cold on the gantries, and he perhaps emphasised that point. I've been very grateful. Sky have provided me with a lot of warm clothing over the last 30 years, so maybe I should thank Motti for that as well.
Yeah, Martin, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today on what must be a difficult day.
Thanks, Rob. Yes, and as I say, deepest sympathies to all his family and friends.